My family hid the fact that my fiancée cheated with my best friend. I 22F found out my family is hiding my fiancée's M23 affair with my best friend F23. How do I confront my family, fiancé and best friend? I 22F need some serious advice on how to navigate any of this. I found out a week ago that basically my entire family's been helping my fiancé M23 hid his affair with my best friend 23F. I created this account because I honestly have no one else to tell this to, so my brain figured the internet strangers would be best. None of my family and friends have read it. Thank the stars for extra emotional context. Me and my fiancé have been together since 8th grade on and off until 2020. I don't apologize if this gets long, but it is so much to unpack and I just want to refresh me with everything I have, as well as figure out the best way to confront my family, best friend and fiancé with at least some dignity. Here are names and ages for context for everyone involved: Richard, half-brother 26, Maria, half-sister 27, Angie, my mom 56, a Peach, best friend soon to be ex-best friend. Alex, my fiancé's soon-to-be ex. So a week ago Alex was taking a shower and had left his phone on our bed. Me and my fiancé has an open phone policy, seeing as we both struggled with getting cheated on in past relationships. Go figure. Seeing my situation, I was unpacking my suitcase for a family trip that is happening after my rehearsal dinner tomorrow. I heard his phone keep going off. He yelled from our shower if I could mute his phone. I went to go get his phone and saw it was Peach calling him. I was curious at first, but seeing as she's part of my bridal party I didn't find it too suspicious. I muted the phone and soon messaged Peach from my own phone. Here's the paraphrase of our conversation. Hey Peach, my fiancé is in the shower right now. What do you need? Peach: oh, nothing, just wanted to confirm with him the flowers for your bouquet. And all me, that's weird. I didn't change my mind on any flowers or anything. The florist was contacted last month and everything was paid for already by Tony. Tony is my mom's husband. Peach: are you sure? I remember him telling me you changed your mind after that. It was the usual wedding talk. After that point, in hindsight, I should have found it very weird that she would call him about 6 times to confirm a flower choice when she simply could have either texted me or Alex. When Alex got out of the shower I told him Peach tried calling him about my flower choices. I asked what made him thinks that I changed my mind on the flowers for the wedding. He paused for a bit, but I now know he was basically stalling and doing the whole "oh, I'm thinking" face when I asked. He then said that he thought I had mentioned it in passing during a dinner. I told him that I didn't recall that. He then just shrugged and grabbed his phone and went back in the bathroom. I hate to be one of those people, but for once my gut actually sunk. I got this really paranoid feeling and I couldn't shake it. I tried to convince myself that it was just my old cheating trauma trying to creep back, yet I just couldn't let this go. Me and Alex had dinner and I pushed through all the way until it was time to go to bed. I pretended to fall asleep first, and Alex usually cuddles to fall asleep. When I knew he was in a deep enough sleep I went to check his phone again. I checked his Instagram, Snapchat messages and I couldn't find anything. I then went to his Facebook Messenger. He has Messenger to communicate with his family overseas. I only saw main family and most of the messages were about getting plane tickets to come to the wedding. We were supposed to get married in December with the Winter Wonderland themed wedding. However, in my previous relationships I checked his archives on Messenger. That's when the horrific truth came to light. There was a group chat with Peach, Alex, Richard, Angie and Maria. The group chat was established a year ago where basically Alex and Peach confessed to having an affair to my family. My mom did shame them at first, yet she later asked Alex did he truly love Peach, because you can't help who you love. Yeah, really great mom, that was super helpful. He said that he was absolutely sure and that he loved me too. Then Maria and Richard offered that he, being Alex, bring up to me an open relationship. They are both in open relationships and married, and apparently it's working for them in whatever la la land they live in at this point. Me and him were already engaged. Alex mentioned to them that it seemed too far deep to try to bring it up. Angie, my mom, even though at this point I hate to even call her that, said that they would cover for Alex and Peach until he felt strong enough to bring up an open relationship to me. As I was reading, all I could think was, how could my family betray me like that? How could Peach betray me like that? We'd been friends since kindergarten. We even grew up with Alex. How could she process in her mind to make love with my fiancé and say that she loves him too? All of this in this disgusting group chat. For Alex to have the nerve to say he loves me as well, for him to know firsthand what it's like to be betrayed like this, I honestly wanted to vomit. However, I was just taking screenshot after screenshot. The more I read down, I found out that Peach took my spot on our previous family trip. I got a really bad stomach bug a while ago that caused me not to go. I can't even begin to imagine what they did on the trip, and the fact that my mother was okay with all of this I think is what hurts the most. The fact that she's known for a whole year that my fiancé was cheating on me, that's taking the longest to sit in. I feel there is more in the group chat, but these were the major points I've known for. A whole week it's been eating at me inside and I want to explode and cuss them all out. I want to ruin their lives the way they ruined me. It all hurts so much and I just really want advice on how to confront them. How do I even begin? What do I even say? The anger I feel is so intense that I feel like if I just let it all out it would look insane. Please Reddit, anything will help. I'm planning on confronting them tomorrow at our rehearsal dinner. TLDR, family has been hiding my fiancé's affair with my best friend and I want to know how I should confront them and what to say to them when I do. Additional comment from Op. I do have some additional information to add for some frequently asked questions. Common question for my messages: why are you having the rehearsal dinner way too early? Me and Alex agreed on 3 rehearsal dinners, one for my family/friends, one for when his family/friends are in town, and the last one with our families combined. Our families and friend groups are big and most people had conflicting schedules for the singular day we tried to plan, so to please everyone we just decided to separate them into groups and have dates that work best for them for the rehearsals. Does Alex live with me? Yes, I bought the apartment while he was living with his roommates in his dorm. I let him move in because he and his roommates weren't getting along after some friend drama they had. We've been living together for 2 years now. His name is not on the lease. I've done some slight research and I will definitely use this to my advantage. We have a cat, but after all of this she is staying with me and I will fight him tooth and nail for her. Half-siblings both have open marriages. Yes, they fell down that train of humans aren't meant to be monogamous and they ran with it. They both have poly partners and that was discussed with their respective partners, so nothing on their end is wrong. My relationship with my mom, it's turmoil and stillness at best after the emotional and mental abuse she put me through most of my childhood. When I turned 18 she apologized. I thought she was actually sorry and we were working towards rebuilding a bond. With all of this I'm not even sure we had one to build in the first place. I am her affair baby, as I've been called. My mother is a very religious person and she figured that if she confessed then she would be saved and redeemed. The opposite happened and she was kicked out of her church group. Anyone that lives in a small town knows gossip runs wild. Tony, my mom's husband, forgave her and decided to move to better help their image. I guess a Redditor pointed out that this incident may be why she hates me, yet I can't comprehend how this would be my fault or why she would even hold on to that grudge for that long. Does anyone know? I saw the messages. No. Once I took the screenshot I deleted them from his phone and just kept them on mine. I have a passcode for my gallery NSFW pics in there. I changed my code on it and Alex hasn't checked my phone, so I feel like I'm safe on that regard. I changed the passcode and if he asks I'll just tell him some BS. Leon, how my niece tried to look at the pictures and I had to change it. When was the wedding? December 17th. Who paid for the wedding? The wedding was a group effort between myself, Alex, stepdad, aunt and cousin. My mom handled more of the diplomatic things, invitations and our gift registry. Really, hopefully this is enough extra information for some folks. I appreciate it all. I'm going to bed soon to prep for tomorrow. I know it will be a really long and emotional day tomorrow, but I know with all your guys' support I will do fine. I'm hoping I will. At least we do get a lot of stories like this one nowadays where there's partners that are unfaithful, but what's really crazy about this one is the fact that Op's family is in on helping out the cheater. That's absolutely insane. Update: hello everyone, it's been about 3 hours since the rehearsal dinner. Everything is terrible right now, but I'm happy the hard part is over. I just want to say something really quick before I share the update. To the individuals threatening to dox me to prove my story is fake, kindly go screw yourself. I'm going through a very tumultuous time in my life and the last thing I need is some people being on a personal mission of proving my ordeal is fake. I already have to deal with an abusive mother. I already have too much to worry about. My emotions are still high and raw. Here's the update. So I did wind up taking bits and pieces of advice from everyone last night. I constantly was going back and forth between going ghost or full on exploding on everyone. I decided to go on a mix of both routes. I sent the screenshot to Alex's parents and explained the whole deal to them. I was honestly expecting them to ignore it or not believe me. However, they called rather quickly. They asked me if I had any hard proof of them cheating besides their confession. I confided in them that I didn't. They asked for more screenshots and I just basically sent them a good chunk of the screenshots. His mother made me feel so awful for sending them. She was sobbing and apologizing for her son. She soon became inconsolable. His father took the phone and asked was it anything his son could do to make it up to me this early morning. I was offended he asked that, yet I saw it from his perspective. Later I asked him if I could be frank and he agreed. Told him that his useless son could shell up and disappear. Then there wasn't anything he could really say. His father said he understood. I asked him if they could keep this to themselves until I brought it up to Alex. They said they could and we ended the call. For a while I thought vomiting from stress was rare, but it finally happened. Alex heard me, I guess me vomiting, not the phone call. I stepped outside to have it because he woke up and tried to rub my back. I held my hand up and cleaned myself up. This is around 7 a.m. In the morning Alex had concern in his voice and was asking if I was okay. For once I actually saw nothing but red, yet I kept the composure. I have no idea why, but I guess that will be my superpower I'll hold on to. I ignored him and just went back to sleep. I woke back up at 8 a.m. to start getting ready for the rehearsal dinner. Alex told me he had to get something done before heading to the restaurant. I told him that was fine and that I'd see him later. Before he left he said he loved me and this was one of the days he was excited for. I said me too, trying not to have much rage behind it. Once he left I gathered all the screenshots. For some people that don't know, you can schedule text messages to be sent out at a certain time. I decided to do this and send it to everyone: Peach's family, our friend groups' family, as well as mine. I sent it to go out at 1:25 p.m. This would be the halfway point of the dinner and people would be dropping off gifts early for us and etc. I gathered the black hole of stress forming in me and headed to the restaurant. When it was time, my mother and her husband were already there. My mother hugged me and all I could do was stand there to feel her hands on me. Almost felt like she was personally violating my spirit. I did a quick tap hug so she wouldn't get suspicious and we headed inside. Guests started flowing in and everyone was surprisingly on time besides my grandparents, but they moved slow so I don't blame them. Once everyone was gathered, Alex went in this whole spiel of how he was happy everyone could come and that he was excited for his family. For the next dinner was supposed to be November 20th. He mentioned how it was the love of his life and he was so happy our families would mingle and we could be one. I wanted to ask him how dare he say that, but nothing but fake smiles and nods for me. Peach was basically looking like a clueless dog and smiling right along and clamping. For us to see this happen in real life was truly mind-boggling. The lengths people will go to have their cake and eat it too. I could barely eat as the stress was getting to me so badly. At the time I set up for the messages, people's phones started buzzing and Alex and Peach's phone were blowing up. I would like to admit that for once a genuine smile crept on my face. It was like watching an entire kingdom crumble and fall. The horrified faces of Peach and Alex when they looked at me was golden. It was the one highlight I will hold on to from this emotional day. My aunt went ballistic. She started calling my mom a cruel, heartless B-word over and over. My mother hurriedly checked her phone and saw I sent her the screenshots. She started screaming and becoming irate, saying I was really trying to ruin her life again. As some of you suggested, she still is apparently upset about being caught having an affair and being shunned. My grandparents' reaction hurt the most because they started screaming at my mother. My grandmother was trying with a few of our guests to hold back my aunt as she started screaming every exploitive she could. My grandfather was screaming at my mother that he didn't raise her to be like this. At this point everyone was screaming and crying hysterics. My other bridesmaids were cussing Peach out and calling her terrible names. I hate to admit again I took joy in that my grandfather went on to screaming at Alex with some things I can't say here because he was very explicit. I just started laughing and sobbing. I had so much emotions that I genuinely think my body didn't know what to do, so it did everything. The tears just kept coming. My cousin escorted me outside as fast as she could with Alex chasing us down. He kept screaming my name and begging to talk like most of you suggested. He wanted to talk to explain his side. I ignored him and my cousin was pushing him away from her car so she could get in and drive off. She took me to my aunt's house and told me to stay there and not answer the door for anyone. I kind of felt like a kid being left at home alone. I didn't answer the door and just sat there. That's when I just started bawling. All the emotions I've kept pent up for the whole week just finally came up after about another hour. My aunt and cousin came home. They hugged me for like a good 5 minutes. When we finally broke off, I noticed my aunt had a few scratches on her. I'm assuming they couldn't hold her back from my mom for much longer. My aunt caught me up on everything. Apparently after my cousin drove off with me, Alex came back in and started screaming at Peach for ruining everything. They got into a screaming match and some of our friends were trying to split them apart. My grandparents, aunt and Tony, my mom's husband, were drilling into my mother for answers. Tony was the most livid. Apparently the family trip I couldn't go to. My mom told Tony that I had offered my ticket to Peach so she could enjoy a nice break for herself. Tony at this point is screaming and reading some of her messages out loud. She was begging him to stop and that she could explain. My aunt started adding on that she better start explaining because all she sees is a worthless mother and a vile person. Apparently this set my mother off and she started screaming about how she hated me, about how I ruined her life and made it difficult, how she felt like she could never be happy because I was always a constant reminder of her biggest mistake ever, and she regretted not aborting me when she had the chance. That set my aunt off and she basically pounced on her. For context, my aunt is infertile. In her words, I was the daughter she never got to have, so in her mind she went full mama bear mode on my birth giver. That's what I'm calling her now. My aunt has been more of a mother to me than my mother ever has in the past 22 years of my life. To make a long list short, I'm honestly getting back to being emotional and The fatigue and empty stomach aren't helping here is everything else that happened. Tony is divorcing my mom. He's had suspicions for a few months she's been cheating again. Peach exposed Alex's text to her that he was sleeping with her because he felt I was growing distant. A while back I was putting in overtime at work to save up for his birthday and that he was lonely and didn't know how to bring it up to me. Peach's father spammed her with calls and will be cutting her off financially. Apparently this is my fault and I'm an evil witch for ruining her. According to her texts, my mother has been on a tirade with her family exclaiming I'm an evil person for destroying her world again. Should have thought about that before condoning anything. Half siblings felt it wasn't their place to say anything to me and that I should have expected Alex to look elsewhere because humans aren't monogamous and people love who they love. Same old. A lot more has happened, but to avoid my brain from imploding on itself from the stress and anger, it's finally out in the air. I've been getting texts and calls from everyone, but at the moment I've left my phone in the other room. I am updating this for my aunt's computer. My aunt offered for me to stay with her until I get out of this jumbled mess. I accepted it, saying as I have no intention of going back to that apartment. I've already emailed a landlord that I will be handling it all next week. My boss emailed me back and said I was allowed to use some PTO. For as long as I need, I will definitely take it. Seeing as I'm highly considering moving somewhere quiet and peaceful, I'm thinking maybe Iowa or maybe even North Carolina. I've heard they have good cost of living in those states. I want to thank you guys so much again. I truly appreciate all the support I've been given and receiving. I'll be offline after today for a few days. I feel like I need to just disconnect from everything and just actually comfort myself. My aunt and cousin are at my place getting some of my things, and my cat Alex is there begging them not to take my things and just have me talk with them. I don't know what he thinks a conversation will do. The emotional and mental scars I have are not going to go away for a while. I also know I have a long journey awaiting for me in therapy. A lot of people have been pointing out that I was severely abused by my mother. Now that I know how much she hates me, it will be easier to go no contact now. TLDR sent the messages out to everyone. Dinner imploded. Life sucks right now, but I know I'll make it. Thank you guys for all your messages and support again. I truly appreciate it. Reddit is a great place besides the lunatics I've encountered at this point. Thank you. I'm at least glad that OP has some kind of support system in place now. Unfortunately, not everybody in these stories have that, and I'm at least glad that this is one of those cases where they do have something. Update to hopefully Reddit doesn't screw me over. I will recap things from my first update if things can't get fixed. In my first post, Peach XBF Alex X fiancé egg donor. My mother Tony, my egg donor is soon to be X. I posted a recap in the comments, but it is buried and I don't know if I can pin the comment. I messaged Alex's parents the screenshots. His parents are very upset. I scheduled text messages to be sent out to everyone during their rehearsal dinner. I also sent the screenshots to Peach's dad. He is her only parent. Her mother isn't with us anymore, bless her. Though I made sure it went to Peach's family as well. I added them to the scheduled mass text after I decided they should know. I also sent them to my family, Alex's family, and my own. Once the scheduled time went by, everything went into chaos. Peach was being berated by my now ex-friends on why things escalated. Peach's father cut her off financially. My grandparents, aunt and Tony, started grilling my mom for answers. I guess under the pressure she confessed to hating me. She thinks I'm the reason her life was difficult and ruined. I was the product of a long-going affair. I have come to find out after my mom insulted me, my aunt physically assaulted her, something she is proud of, and she keeps telling me my cousin got me out quickly. When the chaos ensued, Alex tried to chase us down, but my cousin maneuvered between him and she took me to my aunt's place. That's where I'm at still. My phone has been blowing up since then. My aunt came home and recapped everything for me. When she got back, they got my things from the apartment. Most important thing to me was my cat, and that's where my last update left off. However, things have escalated heavily. Once I woke up and took a long hot shower, I turned my phone back on. I couldn't even unlock it or clear notifications before I got a call from one of my bridesmaids. I answered and she immediately started screaming at me about how I could ignore Peach and Alex in their time of need. At first I was confused, saying as I don't really care about them anymore. I asked her not to yell at me, but she continued anyway. She screamed that Peach self-haired. When she sent me the images, they were very top surface level, enough for the scar to appear and a little blood. Regardless of whether or not it was deep enough, it still shook me. I wanted to scoff on the phone because at this point I knew she was doing it to rally people on her side. Since I won't respond to her text yet, she told me Alex tried to out his friends, found him at his apartment all groggy. They took him to the hospital where he was cleared. Since they didn't have to pump, they're keeping him on watch for the next 72 hours, which is good. Just because I hate his guts doesn't mean he needs to die. After this, my friend group has been split very heavily since I didn't respond to either of them before they did this. I still have no intention of talking to either of them. I don't really care what they do for attention, just as long as they leave me alone. During the initial confrontation with my egg donor, Tony found out my egg donor lied to him and said Peach could take my ticket to go with him for the trip. They got home and started arguing more because Tony brought up the suspicions he had about my mother cheating. She started screaming at him and confessing everything. She told him my half-siblings aren't his and a lot of other very hurtful things. He had to call the police on her to escort her off his property. Tony followed up with me this morning. Yes, he is divorcing her. His lawyers are drafting up his papers within the next week or so, and told me my mother confessed that I was a product of a long-term affair she had with his best friend. My egg donor is a very vile woman. I am coming to learn after finding out Tony is getting papers. She tried to backpedal. She's been calling my aunt begging for her to convince Tony not to do this or else she'll be homeless. She's been trying to call Tony and his family, but they have all been ignoring her. Yet this wasn't enough for my egg donor. She knows my aunt's schedule and tried to come over to assault me. My cousin was with me still, so she couldn't get in, but hearing her scream at me, some of my very low insecurities hurt and I started to have a panic attack. My cousin took me upstairs when we heard a loud crash. My mother broke through the window and ran upstairs and attacked me. For once in my life I hit my egg on her back. All the anger I had towards her I finally let out. My cousin was struggling to separate us and she had to run too. Go get our neighbor. I only have a few scratches and bite marks, but outside of that I am okay. I'm also placing charges against my egg donor. Hopefully I can get a restraining order. Honestly, my mom ran off before the police came, but I gave them Tony's address just in case she tries going back there. I see that those evil people aren't going to stop until they get a response out of me. However, on the weird side, I got a call from my half-sister. She tried apologizing and I cut her off because I don't want to hear it anymore. She then scoffed and had the nerve to ask if I could watch my nieces while her husband and her boyfriend all go on a trip. I love my nieces and nephews, but I told her that she could go F herself. If she wanted me to watch her nieces, then she would have to ask through my aunt. She started screaming how I was being unfair to her and punishing her kids. I told her I was punishing her. She said never mind and that I couldn't see my nieces. I knew this was something that could happen, but it hurt my heart. I'm pretty sure she's telling them I hate them. I'm keeping the screenshots and my aunt and cousin said they would back me up and reach out in the future. This is everything so far, but I'm expecting more to happen. Honestly, one thing I know about egg donor is that she hates losing. I know she sees this as a loss and she won't stop until she comes out on top. My half-brother has blocked me on everything and I'm pretty sure he's siding with my half-sister. I'm just really emotionally distraught, but I wanted to update you guys. I'll update again if anything else happens, but if not, this will probably be my final update because I just want all of this to end in good news. Though I start therapy next week, my aunt and cousin are currently packing up Alex's things and dropping them off at a buddy of his. His name is Kyle. Kia is on my side and he's been helping me through all this as well. He dropped me one of my favorite fruit this morning to my aunt. He also reassured me that I can talk to him at any time. I asked him if he would be in further communication with Alex and he said no, he's just holding on to his things until his parents can pick them up. I really appreciate him, but that's it for now. I will update in the comments once I get that restraining order. After reading all of that, it's shocking me that anybody sided with Op's mom. She was very clearly on the wrong side of things and she couldn't blame Op for quote-unquote ruining her life. Everything that happened to her she brought upon herself. Op, on the other hand, was just a victim of circumstance. I hope that they're getting the help that they need after all of this.